are watching The Convo with Dr. Fridah and James Wetu. Convo, encouraging conversation that matter.
Wow, welcome so much to Convo. We had a technical challenge, that's why we are coming late. Actually, 30, almost 30 minutes to go, but we are happy that we are able to come live to you. And today is a Friday. I'm really excited about today's conversation. It's a series we are calling Contemporary Christian Living, discussing issues that pertains to Christian life, life of faith, for us believers. And I'm not alone today. I'm joined by Fridah. I'll be introducing her shortly. And I want to believe that you had a very good week, just like we had. And we are hoping that it's still, the weekend just started. And we believe and we pray that you're going to have an amazing weekend. So I want to ask you just to, if you live, share with your friends, let your friends know what is happening. Again, show us some love. If you have some comments, if you have some, questions or something you want to add to today's conversations, it's really interesting. I actually know how we came up with this topic, and I'm looking forward to see what unravels, as we engage in this conversation. Remember, this is Convo, encouraging conversations that matter. We always strive to bring content and discuss issues that basically quite often we won't find people discussing out there, and so we want to encourage them because we believe they are important and they'll impact our life post-free. So for now, welcoming Dr. Ali. Fridah, how are you?
Good, James.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
It's almost 3 months since we did a show together.
It can't be 3 months.
2 months.
I think
the
so.
last show we did together was in December.
Yeah, it was in December 2020.
Yeah,
it's been a while,
yes,
but I'm so glad to be back.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation on perception. Yeah.
Yes. It's amazing, and wow, we'll see what happens. I hope you guys have, shared with your friends, and I hope you're gonna, share your thoughts and your perspectives. If you have some insights, kindly share with us. If you're watching this from YouTube, kindly remember to subscribe and hit that bell there so you can be notified every time we upload new content. And we appreciate you. The last few weeks we've been having different conversations, and it's amazing the kind of feedback we are getting. And we want to tell you we appreciate your support and everything that you're doing. So, Fridah, how has your week been?
My week has been awesome.
Okay.
And let me just say my month has been awesome.
Yes.
After doing the blogs about mental health, the kind of feedback we've been getting is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I'm just glad the month is almost over. Yeah, and I'm glad that it's finally weekend. So we can relax a bit. We've been busy. Yeah.
Amazing. Good. So, when I was thinking about today's topic,
yes,
perception, it's deep. I tried to even do some quite more research on perception.
Yes.
And I realized how deep it is.
Yeah.
And I know you've come across a statement that says, and the first impression is the lasting impression.
Yeah.
And why it's the lasting impression is because of perception. The first time I perceive you, that's how I always look you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, we can start by maybe telling our viewer what perception is.
Yeah, I think just in simpler terms, I know we have maybe, as you're saying, deeper ways to explain what perception is. We can even go to the neuroscience of all that. But for now, because we are doing contemporary Christian living, I think it's only fair we be simple.
Sure.
So I think we could say perception is basically how we we see the world around us and how we experience it. In simpler
how
terms.
we see the world around us and how we experience it.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's how we get the information.
Yes.
About our environment.
Yes.
And so the basic science in primary school, or I think it's primary school.
Yes.
We're taught about senses, 5 senses.
The 5 senses.
And there's another one called common sense. But
Yes.
for
And there's a 6th
there's
sense
a 6th.
in women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a story of another day. But
Sure.
today, look at perception as a way you get information from the surrounding, and how you process that interpretation, and then create your reality.
Yeah.
Or how you make, how do you put it? You create meaning out of the information you get.
Yes.
And we have the 5 senses.
Yeah.
There's the way you see things, and then you
Yeah.
perceive what you've seen. You can see colors, you see what is happening, and still we can feel, you can taste, you can smell, the way here. Basically what you're doing, you're getting information into you, then you process that information, and then how you interpret it become your reality.
Yeah, sure.
So there's something we call sensation. As we discussed, perception is also what you call sensation. It's how we get the information, the stimulus from the external environment.
Yeah.
But then still now, when that's why I said perception is so deep.
Yeah, it's so deep.
Because when you start talking about a perception,
Yes.
I learned that it's a cognitive process.
Yes,
It's
is.
not the way we feel the senses, they're there, but then if you want to understand it more, become more cognitive.
Yeah.
So it's basically what you said, how we get the information from our surrounding, how we process it, then give meaning to the environment.
Sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
James, when you talked about the senses, I just remembered there are some people who are colorblind.
Color.
Actually, most men are said to be colorblind.
Yeah.
And that has to do with perception. Your brain cannot really interpret the color as you see it. So that's somebody. I see there's a picture in the building we're in that has green.
Yes.
But somebody else, I see the picture, my brain interprets that as green, but for someone else they would think it's blue.
Perception. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it has to do with somebody else will have no clue what color that is. So I think perception is very wide and also very deep.
Yeah.
But I think now we should come back to how does it affect our lives.
And that's why we thought this conversation is important.
Yeah.
How does perception affect our day-to-day life, and how can we enhance our own perception?
Yes.
And Fridah, I don't know, maybe you can tell us why do you think perception is important in our lives?
Well, I think perception is important because the way you perceive the environment around you dictates how you live and how you respond to issues. Even when it comes to things like conflicts.
Yes.
The way someone perceives, your perception of someone.
Yes.
For example, if you're having a conflict with someone or an argument with someone,
yes,
the way you perceive them as a person dictates how you respond to the argument or misunderstanding.
Yes.
So that if you think this person is a mean person, if that's how your brain has conditioned itself to think about that person, your reaction, you react as though you're reacting to a mean person. You get? So I think basically our environment, we are all in the same environment, but we perceive things differently. So that if I saw, God forbid, if I saw a rat in where we are, I'll jump. We're in the same place with you, but then you will become. That has to do with perception, because my brain perceives it as a threat, but your brain perceives it as, a non-issue. It's a small animal that doesn't hurt. You see? So that has to do with perception. That's why I'm saying perception is important, because it dictates how we respond to issues and how we relate to people as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So Fridah, I want to let me share with you a story of just to help us understand perception and why it's a very important thing, so that anytime, for example, what you're saying in terms of conflict, or you're disagreeing with someone, or maybe you feel your opinions are not appreciated, instead of looking at the other person as a bad one, or the other person, you could say maybe this person is seeing these things differently than the way I'm looking at it. And I want to give you a story. It's a story. It's a legend actually. The story are given by Akina Plato. Those guys, and it's kind of it's some 6 blind men. They can't see. The guy wanted to just experiment with them, and were taken to see not yet see because they couldn't see, but to experiment an elephant. And so these 6 blind men were introduced to an elephant, and they could go and touch the elephant. Some guys would touch the tusk, others would touch the tail, some they just feel, because basically they can see. Now these guys were taken a place just to discuss about how they conceptualized the elephant. And everyone had his own argument what an elephant is. And they could talk about a tusk. Some guys could talk about a skin, laugh patches here and there. They didn't have a clear explanation of what the elephant is. And so they even start arguing actually and exchanging blows, because they realize the other person is not honest. I felt it, and this is how it was. So this is the truth. And also you're saying something different. So they started perceiving each other as being dishonest. You get? And it's the same thing to our lives. You hear a story, and instead of getting the whole big picture about the story, you only have the half truth, because basically, like I can lead that bit what they're saying here. The moral of the story is that humans have a tendency to claim absolute truth based on their limited subjective experience. These guys only had, he was just able to touch one bit of the elephant. He didn't have a full picture of what an elephant is. And they say, and as they ignore other people's limited subjective experiences, which may be equally true. This guy was talking about a tusk. It's true, the elephant has a tusk. The other guy talking about big ears. They still have some truth about it, but it's only limited to what they're able to see. And it tells us basically, and that's how we perceive information. We are not able to. I was sharing with you and telling you that truth is absolute. There's no like relative truth. Like you can say this is half the truth, and there's no half truths. It can only be a whole thing. Get? But what you usually have basically, for example, the famous word moshene, it's only a bit of information you get that you have. And in this there's something they say very clearly, and I want to read it. Actually, if we knew the whole elephant is out there, shouldn't these drive us to open our eyes wider and seek every opportunity to experiment more of it? Get? If we knew that actually not just these years, not that this task is a huge bit of, we could go, for me, I would go and start searching this truth, other than relying on these bits of half truths.
I think that's why you hear people say you need to hear the other person's side of the story. When two people are arguing and one comes to you and you listen to them, if you stop at that, you're likely to also condemn the one who is likely the offender. But when you listen to the other person's story, now you have their perspective and you have this other person's perspective. So you're able to know, where is this one coming from? Where is this one coming from? So I think that's the same thing, as the story you're giving about the elephant. Someone touched an ear. And the other one touched the tusk. So they think the one who touched the ear thinks the one who touched the tusk is lying. And the other one is dishonest. So, but it's because the one who touched the ear has not touched the tusk, so they have no idea it exists.
And you see now the question is, would you fight with that? Who holds the truth? Is it the person who is saying the ear, someone who is saying the tusk, the one who touches the legs? Who is talking the truth? All of them have bits of truth. And then they say it would be wiser if we knew the elephant is out there, we go and experience the whole of it, rather than the bits of it. Now, Fridah, now maybe you can bring closer, because we're talking about Christian, contemporary Christian living.
Yes.
We can now look at in the scriptures. Is there some place where maybe someone perceived something wrongly or didn't have a clear understanding of maybe a matter or something like that?
I think there are very, very many stories, and the one that came to my mind when you're reading, when you're telling the story about the elephant and the blind man, was one that is so common in our circles, about Jesus and the disciples.
Okay.
At one time, Jesus asked his disciples, "Who do men say that I am?"
Oh yeah.
And the disciples told Jesus, some say that you're Elijah, others say that you're John the Baptist, others say that you're one of the prophets, you know. And that also has to do with perception, because all these people, the ones that were saying that Jesus was Elijah, had seen some attributes that made them think that Jesus was Elijah.
Yes.
The ones that were seeing Jesus as John the Baptist, I don't know where those ones fall into, because John the Baptist was still alive in the days of Jesus, you know. But then Jesus goes on to ask them, "But who do you say that I am?"
I am, yes.
You know. So and that's where Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And then Jesus goes on to tell him, "Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you." So when you look at that story, it's clear that Jesus wanted the disciples to think, he actually wanted to know, what do you think of, what do you perceive him? You see. So Jesus wanted to know, who do you think I am?
I am. Yeah.
When you see me,
whom do you say I am?
Whom do you say I am? You see. And you know,
it's the same. Just to cut you short, there are some fathers,
yes,
when they have bad behavior, they go and drink, and then they come home, and then they wake up, they wake their children, they start demanding, "Who do you guys say I am in this house?" What he's trying to do is to get, how do you guys perceive me? Who am I to you guys?
So you know, James, you know, I've just remembered that kind of a story where the father asked, whose home is this?
Yes,
you know, and it's clear it's his. It's his. Nobody is anyway. So you know, when we talk about perception, there's a famous theologist. I keep forgetting his name, but when I remember it, I'll say it. He said that the most important thing about any person is what they think about God. So the most important thing about you is how you perceive God. There's a verse in Psalms 34 that says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." You know? That taste and see is translated for perceive.
Perceive, yes.
Perceive that the Lord is good. What it means is understand. You know, don't just look. Understand that the Lord is good. Make up your mind that the Lord is good. So that that theologist was explaining and saying that those people who perceive God as gracious are able to extend the same grace to others. Those people who see God as a mean God is, you know,
they're able to,
they also mean, you know, their character is shaped by their perception of God. So that if I think God is a good God, I'm also able to extend that goodness and kindness to my fellow human beings. You see. So how we perceive God, and not just God, even other people, is very, very important. It shapes how we respond to issues, how we, you know, relate to others, and most importantly, how we relate to God. I think the day my perception of God changed, my life changed, because those days I would read the Bible about, you know, especially the Old Testament, about how God would kill the enemies of Israel. So I had this perception of God as fearful, mighty,
king, you know, king. And I think that if you tell guys to draw God, everyone will, based on how they perceive them.
Based on,
but maybe Fridah, still on the Bible, maybe you can share with us the story of Samuel.
I think,
and anointing the king.
I think that's an interesting one, because that also changes how how you think about God, because Samuel was the one who anointed Saul, and Saul was the first king of Israel. And somewhere in the Bible, when Samuel is anointing Saul, we see the Bible describes Saul. It describes him even in his stature, like he was his height. He was handsome and all those things. So Samuel had this experience of anointing Saul, had created a picture in his mind about how a king is supposed to look like, how a king is supposed to behave, their stature, their height, you know, their complexion and all that. So when God tells him, go to the house of Jesse and anoint a king for me, he goes into the house, and when he sees the firstborn of Jesse, he makes up his mind, this is the next king of Israel. And then he goes to anoint him, but God says, do not. Because I do not look at things the way people look at them. Actually, that is in 1 Samuel 16. I wish I could read. Let me read. So 1 Samuel 16 verse 6. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. Surely. He was certain.
He was so confident this is the man.
Yes. And then verse 7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
That's, man, that even you're explaining. Yes, you know, it's how we perceive things. And how we look at things is different from the way God looks at them, from that statement. And someone was making a mistake. I think in his mind, he had this picture who a king should be and should look like.
He knew.
Should be a big man with
even height,
stature, with all these kind of things, and that's how he made the the mistake. I think that's self-explanatory.
It is,
but still opens our eyes.
You know, James, you know what I learned from this story is, and I think Pastor Jeff has mentioned to me this once or twice, perception informs your attitude. Definitely. You see, the attitude Samuel had towards Eliab was, this guy's height is perfect for a king. His appearance is perfect for a king. You know, he fits all the qualifications for the next king of Israel, you see? So even when he's anointing the rest, he's not even, his mind was, it's like God disorganized his mind, you know? All he was seeing, now David is even the last born. I think he must have been shot by then because he was, young. And he was even tending sheep, you see? So, you know, when what you believe about a person informs your attitude towards them.
What you believe about a person.
Yes. What you had, you know, before.
How you, basically, we said perception is the information you receive, how you process it, then that becomes your reality.
Yes. So like I could say, before I knew you, there are some things I had heard about you. Or there's some things I had just observed about you. Like maybe I would say, I would have thought that James is a very quiet guy. He doesn't talk much. So as I approach you, that's the attitude I have. So as I approach you, I know James doesn't talk much. So I'm not expecting a long conversation with you, you know. And many other things that people say about others, those are what informs your perception. So that now as I came to know you more, I am certain that James talks a lot.
You get now to see the bigger elephant.
I get to see the elephant, the whole elephant, the entire elephant.
This is interesting. It's really, and I think we are getting how perception affects us and how it, it shapes our thoughts, shapes our interactions, shapes our relationships. And actually, I think the key thing here is actually even how we solve conflicts. You know. And I think when you understand, we said perception, it's a huge topic. And I was looking at it, it's applied in management. In management, there's something we call, if, for example, there's appraisals. How I have perceived my juniors is what will determine whether I'm going to promote them or not from a boss. I'm looking, there's something we call halo effect. I'm just looking at one attribute of Fridah. And I use that particular attribute to either promote Fridah or say Fridah cannot perform. You get. So you go to marketing, that's where it's perfectly used. You know, the advertisements.
Yes.
All those commercials.
Yes.
What they're trying to do, they're trying to change our perception.
Yes.
You get.
Yes.
How do I perceive a product A?
Yes.
And how do I make my product more superior than the other products, you know, the competition products? Perception. So you have to create commercials, you know, adverts everywhere to shape people's perception. Last time when talking about marketing, we call this something we call customers journey or buyer's journey. You don't just wake up and go and buy something.
Yeah.
There must be some sort of a need. You assess, you do your research. Now through that process, advertisements come trying to, you know, change your perception to prefer product A against product B. That's basically trying to change your perception.
Yeah.
And actually there's like a movement that is rising up trying to bring modesty even in marketing. Because you see now, if you market and you marketing long products or product that of not good quality, you're basically, you know, hurting people. So we have to have responsible marketers.
Yeah.
Like what you're marketing has been proven to be a good product.
Yes.
You're not using psychology
Yes,
or this
yes.
perception to
Yeah.
create a certain perception about a product.
Yes.
Then that product, one, maybe it's a substandard product or it's harming maybe people. So I
Yes.
think perception is wide and
It's
we can
wide.
discuss so many things about it. But what we really needed you to understand is that it affects how we judge other people, how we relate with other people. It affects our relationships
It does a lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what should we do?
I think as I said earlier, I had this picture of God as you know, furious.
Yes.
You know, from reading the Old Testament a lot,
Yes, yes.
God is a furious, you know, he can kill people who rebel against him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's a king, he's a mighty king.
Yes.
But I had never really seen God as a father.
Yes.
For some reason, I had never really pictured him as a father, you know, until you know, there's a song that goes, "You're a good father, you're perfect in all of your ways." And I couldn't really, we sang the song, yes, but it had not come to, I had not come to that understanding that he's actually a perfect father.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of time for me to deconstruct those perceptions of God I had about him being a furious, you know, mighty God. Those, all I could say about him was a king, you know, someone on a throne ruling, which is true.
Yes.
But it's this side of him, of, you know, a father that I had never really seen.
Sure.
And the day I saw that God is also a father, it changed my life, because now I know he's not just a father, he's also a friend. So I don't have to go to him all the time trembling.
Wow.
It gave me boldness to approach him, you know. It gave me boldness to approach him, even after, you know, I have had mistakes, because I know he's a father, and he doesn't expect me to run away from him. He's actually, he has his arms wide open, expecting me to run to him even when I mess up. Wow. You see?
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's about how you.
Yeah, it's how it's about how you perceive. That's why David was saying, taste and see. Yani, make up your mind, understand, perceive, you know, that God is good.
Yes.
That is the only way you're going to enjoy salvation.
Yes.
That is the only way you're going to enjoy your relationship with him. You see? So I think it goes back to even how we relate to people.
Yes.
If I have just, maybe let me just give an example of being in church, and I maybe say I'm new in church, and you've just met me, and people say things about me, but you have never really seen me do those things. Like, say, let me give an example, but this is not a good one. People, okay, I will not give a bad example. Pastor Jeff is against that. Maybe people say that I'm a good singer, and you've never really heard me sing. Yeah. But you know, based on the fact that you've heard people say that I'm a good singer, as you approach me, you have that picture in your mind of me singing. You see? So you approach me like that. But what if they are wrong?
Yes.
What if what you expected is not really what you get when you hear me sing?
Yes. Yes.
You see? So the thing is, for us, what informs our perception is our knowledge, our experiences, and maybe to say our expectations. So we need to the best way to change our perception is to change our knowledge.
Our knowledge.
Yeah, and you change, knowledge, you just pay attention. Look for knowledge. The way we went deep into this topic, and now we are looking at what is perception. Does it really affect us? Like David and Goliath. I know you remember that story. About David and Goliath. Yes. Every other Israelite is afraid. That's just to say that perception is also informed by our experiences. Every other Israelite is terrified. Even the king is terrified by this huge giant. Yes. But then David has had some experiences when he was tending the sheep with the lion and the bear. Yes. He had experiences with them, and that shaped how he perceived
things. And when he said such a danger, he knew, yes, this is a danger. Yes. But look, I've also experienced our dangers. I think I can contend it.
Yeah. He sees Goliath, and his first reaction is, who is this? And circumstance Philistine that is defying the armies of...
You guys. Out of his experience.
Yeah, out of his experience. So our experiences shape our... That's why we keep hearing that you need to exercise your faith, because as you exercise your faith, you gain experience. So when your first
things comes and difficult time comes, you're able now to flex your muscle and say, even you guys gonna amazing. Wow, I hope you're benefiting. I could see, I'm seeing a lot of activity. I can see Christine, I can see Purity is watching. Quite a number of guys. Lynette is asking, where is this place? We'll connect. Wow. We'll give you more information, Christine. Good. It's good. Lynette, it's good to see you guys tuned in, and I hope you guys are learning something about perception and how it shapes. If you ever experience something about perception, you can just something, tell us your experience with a long perception.
Yeah.
Along perception. Usually we say perception is not, does not really mean that is reality. But actually we said mind the gap or mind the gap. So what should you do? Do you mind the gap or you mind the gap? You mind the gap. Instead of minding, just get to know what is in between this space and get more information. That way you're even trying to get the whole elephant. But if you mind the gap, what will happen? You will not even dare. You go with what you have. You don't want, a gap. When people are doing constructing and there are gaps, they put poster there and tell mind the gap so that you don't follow.
Yes.
But you get now when you're saying, okay, instead of really going back and assuming that's the truth, you can go and now do more research. That was saying we could be having a bigger, if we knew that actually an elephant exists there, I think, don't we go and maybe experiment with the whole elephant rather than just taking one piece and walking with it? I think we need to finish up. I don't know if we have something to... Time is really gone.
Yeah, time is gone, and you just
started.
James, when you talk about mining the gap, I just realized when you talk to most atheists, they will tell you there is no God, and they will point out something that happened to them, something really bad that happened to them that may convince them that there was no God.
Yes.
But then I've just thought about it this way. Most people go through things and see themselves as victims.
Yes.
So you hear someone say, I am this way because I'm born of a single mother.
Yes.
I am this way because I was abused as a little girl.
Yes.
I am this way. I am insecure because maybe I didn't have a present father. My father wasn't, But there are people who go through the same thing but view themselves as survivors. I was watching one medical student who went through depression, and it hit them really bad. But instead of going down with the depression, she began a campaign. She has a foundation now of she supports medical students and healthcare workers. It's a foundation that has bloomed. It has grown. You see, so she saw herself as a survivor, not just a victim. That's where the difference is. How you perceive
yourself,
how you perceive what happened to you determines what happens to you next. If you perceive yourself as a victim, if you think about that thing that happened to you was really bad, it messed me up, I am insecure, I am stuck. If you see it that way, you're not really going to go far.
Fridah, that is huge. And I hope someone heard that. That is huge. How you perceive yourself.
Yeah.
even when you discuss depression and all these things, it's basically how did you perceive yourself? Yes, you fell.
Yeah.
But how did you perceive that fall? Did you conclude that is absolute? Like you're saying, the truth is not relative, it's absolute.
Not relative, yeah.
You fall, all of us fall, but when you fall or you find yourself in a, they say, hardened, a lock and hard place, how do you perceive that situation?
Yeah.
Do you let that situation empower you to become a better person, or you look at yourself as a victim? That is you. If you didn't get anything there, I think that if you just get that, you're good to go.
You know that guy who did the bulbs, the one, you know, we have had that story over and over. The one who did it, I think, was it 100 times or 99 times?
Yes, and he failed until everyone. Actually, I think I'm told the funding was kind of, everyone was supporting stop. No, this thing, yes, no, it's not working.
But here we are, you see. So you know, people who do things and fail.
Yes.
I think that's the end.
Yes.
Actually, it turns out that that's not the end. You know, failure is not the end. So it's all about perception. Actually, most of our problems will be solved if our perception changes. Instead of seeing that thing as, you know, a hindrance or a roadblock, you see it as an opportunity. You know, to be creative, to be more creative. Yeah, so it's even about your self-image. It's all about perception. You know, I have a friend who keeps telling me, you like staying like this in pictures. Why? And they think I should stay like this, but it's all about perception. How I perceive this other side of me, you know? Yeah, so we need to be very careful. Even we need to be very careful to deconstruct those wrong perceptions, because they hinder us from progress.
Yes, they do all the time. And like you said initially, if I perceive you as a person who is unfriendly, you see, it also, how do I put it? You don't want to say hi, you also block yourself from other people, and because you've perceived. I wish we can go a little bit further. Just like we've given an illustration of an elephant, just assume there's a bigger elephant out there and just be amazed by it and try and go and seek.
And you know, the way you're saying, if I perceive you to be an unfriendly person, I am most likely not to even approach you. How you perceive a person dictates how much you get from that relationship. So that if you perceive God as a healer, you're able to get healing from that relationship. But if you have never seen or perceived God, understood that God is a healer, it won't work. So you remain sick, but the word says that you're healed by his stripes.
Oh man. Thank you guys. You know, I wanted to actually show you some of the ways we perceive differently, like the way we do, you know, stereotyping. You judge me based on the group I am or where I come from. You know, the way we say guys from Meru are very hot-tempered. I might meet someone who is not hot-tempered, but because this person comes from that place, he's hot-tempered. Or maybe your ladies from Nyeri, they, you know, whatever they do, they laugh, and you can perceive that, and so you classify everybody who comes from that place as as harsh, aggressive, you know. And I think we know better now that that's not the truth. It's not the truth.
We have to be willing to go that extra mile, even in our relationships, especially when there's conflict. Go that extra mile and know why. You know, as you told me some time back, we were having a discussion, and you told me, now I understand why this guy behaves like this. I didn't understand him. He used to piss you off a lot. But now that you understand why he does what he does, even your reaction towards him when he does it is better now. You know, you're able to, you approach him from a place of understanding. The way he perceives things and the way you perceive things are different, and you're able to understand that. So you're able to avoid that conflict from happening again.
Amazing. Wow. And something else, just before, you know, you might assume, this is I don't know how to put this. Sometimes, maybe if I'm honest myself, people have the tendency to think that other people are also honest. Because I'm honest, I perceive everyone as honest.
Interesting.
Or trustworthy, and then I perceive other people as honest. You know, still that's something that you also need to really look at. So I don't just perceive, you know, other people as honest. And it happens, you find out that the nicest people are the one who get conned. Yes, because if someone texts me and they really need, and I know maybe I've experienced, like what you're saying, experience is that you can be in a problem, and then someone texts me a very nice text message. I could be tempted to also offer, maybe I'm being conned. So it requires you to be able to manage your perceptions.
Sure.
You know, wow. Amazing, amazing. We can talk and talk. I wish we could go deeper into this conversation.
Yeah.
Perceptions,
Yeah, sure.
perceptions, and I'm very sure someday we're gonna go deeper into perception. We said the reason why perception is can be, you know, a detailed conversation because it involves, it's a cognitive process. Touches now the brain and, you know, how you
Interpret.
yes, so become more complex. But I hope and I believe that the conversation was meaningful to you and that it matters at this particular moment. And my prayer is that you're gonna start seeing this differently. When you see a black car, check if you, or you said a blue car. If you see a blue car, check if we actually it's a blue car, or maybe you could be colorblind, right? It could be all. It's important you do a close check.
Yeah.
I believe, so that you're also not distorted, you're not distorting information. And we say there are so many things that affect our perception.
Yeah.
The experiences,
Knowledge.
if you've been hurt, become hard to trust again.
Yeah.
You know, you still your knowledge, your skill, your motivations to affect how you perceive things, you know, your beliefs, plus also even where you are, you know, in terms time, location, all those factors affect how you perceive things. So that is this is contemporary Christian living.
Yeah.
And today we were discussing perception, and it's a conversation we're gonna advance every fourth
The last Friday of the month.
we'll be talking about you know, what you're calling contemporary Christian living.
Yes.
Hapa nje, how do we interact, how do we survive, how do we, you know, mingle, how do we do our things? Those are the things that we'll be, you know, discussing. Contemporary Christian living.
Yes.
And we're so excited. We want to close at this point. You know, we appreciate you. Next week, you know what's happening?
He matters. Next
He
week is
matters.
hashtag He matters.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Wow, and I'm so happy about the feedback I'm getting about He matters.
Yes.
Gonna be huge, gonna be big, and we are hoping that every discussion we have is touching someone, it's touching a family, it's touching a community, just to, you know, have these conversations. We believe that every problem has a solution.
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
why we need to keep talking about some of these issues, some of these things, so that we can create a better society for ourselves, a better society where we can do our own stuff. And you know what? God is happy when we advance His mandate.
Yeah,
Mandate that He's
sure.
given us. Yes.
Yeah.
So, any final words?
My parting shot would be, you know, when you talked about viewing yourself either as a victim or a survivor.
Yes.
When you view yourself as a victim, you give power to that thing that happened to you to keep haunting you.
Sure.
But when you view yourself as a survivor, you deny it that power. You know, you're saying this happened to me, but I'm not going to let it hold me back. So do not give away your power. It happened. Yes, it happened, but that doesn't mean you should be stuck there. Yeah. So please work on your perception.
Sure.
Gain more knowledge. Put your faith to work.
Yeah.
You know, put your faith muscles to work so that they grow, so that your experiences will also shape your perception.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be my
Good,
parting
good.
shot.
We appreciate everybody. Before I give my passion shot, Christine is saying absolutely. I agree with this word, perception. It depends on how you interpret it in life. Amazing. And Friday survivors. I get you, Christine. I'm saying very powerful conversation. We have Charles Jologe still watching. Thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate. We have Purity saying is following. Christine Yeah, that's Lynette.
Lynette.
Yes, I don't know if you have some more guys.
No, I don't think so.
Amazing, good. So, we want to add this point here, and I think John Boga. We are with him next week, and I've seen him manifest once.
And Sami Kenywa.
Oh, amazing.
And one of my aunties is watching actually.
Wow.
Nyawesh Paris Mogera.
Wow.
Good to see you.
Good to see
good
you.
to have you in this forum.
Sure.
And Sami Kenywa is actually a doctor.
Wow.
Good to see you, Doc. God bless you so much.
Amazing. Wow. We appreciate everybody. We can talk, but because of time and the interest of curfew is just wow. We just want to add here. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for comments and sharing your thoughts with us. The conversation doesn't stop here. It goes on. Perceptions.
Yes.
And we'll be sharing more content on perception and how we can improve our lives and how we can create a more holistic, more tolerable community.
Yes.
So from us,
for now.
So bye till next week. This is Convo.
Yes.
You are watching The Convo with Dr. Fridah and James Wetu. Convo, encouraging conversation that matter.